Greetings, nerds. This is CNN Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. How are you doing this evening?
I watched Picard episode 7. Have no fear.
Okay. I know.
Worried.
Great. Yeah, well, so did I, and it was actually I was joking with you before we started recording. I lucky enough to have the day off after some business travel and stuff, and it was nice just to be able to get up this morning and watch a show before everybody spoiled it.
I don't have that problem, but I sympathize for other shows. Granted, a lot of the shows I'm watching right now, I can't really spoil. Like I watched the season premiere, the final season premiere of Succession. Mm-hmm. I watched it right on Sunday night, right after it dropped. I didn't have any fear of being spoiled about anything. And looking back, you really can't spoil that. Like, you can't spoil anything about that show. But just round of applause for the actors on that show, because damn, they act their fucking pants off.
Yeah, they do.
They're, and it's not, I don't even think it's just the performance. How, like, every fan should just send whatever they want, like thank yous to the casting director, because they got really good with the chemistry of those freaking siblings who are in one moment and like in the same scene, they're tearing each other apart and then there's a kiss on the cheek. It's just like it's amazing to have a family of horrible people that, because of their love for one another as siblings or as father and children, you kind of are like, I can relate. Even though you're horrible and are billionaires, I can relate. Mm. It's just this mind fuck. And for those who have watched it, the quote of this episode in particular is disgusting brothers. Mm. And it's not the brothers who you think it is. Oh man. Yeah, but no, it was a solid start. And I'm just excited to be back into this family dynamic, and yeah, so it's good.
Awesome. Yeah, I need to watch the premiere. I did finally, after I think I got into the show second season, and I've enjoyed it. So I did see the Disgusting Brothers trend for a bit, so I got to see what that was all about.
It's so small, but it's so like on par with it's just like, yeah, they would have a line like that and use it in that way. Yeah, the Disgusting Brothers. But on top of that, I did another Netflix binge. I don't know if I ever brought up this show before, probably because I really do hate watch this, but Shadow and Bone on Netflix.
Oh yeah. I think, I don't know if we talked about it here like on the podcast proper, but I think you have mentioned it like whenever we just warming up and stuff.
So I continue to watch this show. And by watch, I mean fast forward through like 90% of it. The only reason to watch this show is for the crows. The actors who play the crows are the best part of the show. I could care less about the main characters and the main weird stuff. And also, what is the age difference between the main actress and Ben Barnes? Because some of those scenes are pretty weird. I'm just like, what? You have been around you're older than me, and she is definitely younger than me. So where are we here? And I know like age differences, but still, come on. Like it's a bit weird. But I was surprised that they got a second season, I'll be honest.
Yeah, well, Netflix, they shows that you think are going to get renewed don't, and the ones that shouldn't get 5 seasons.
Yeah, I I don't say that for quality because of everything you just said. I say it mainly because I don't also hear a lot of people. I hear more people talk about Outer Banks than Shadow and Bone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
But I also
too,
know it's based off of like a book series, I believe. And so there's probably a cult following and probably a lot of people who are just like nowhere in my social media realm. But I just wanted to give it a shout out because, like I said, if you watch that show, just fast forward through all the bullshit and just watch the Crows because they have the best arc. I'm still very confused about and see, I don't even know their character names. I just say the Crows.
well, to be fair, you do fast forward through probably like 70% of the show, so
yeah, or I just have it in the background while I'm doing other stuff and I completely forget about it and I look up the screen like, how did we get okay, sure. Did I miss something? How did we get here? Who is this person? We've seen her for like 5 episodes and I continue to be like, aren't you an extra? But
yeah, we all have those programs like that where it's just background noise for sure.
Yeah, it's I love myself a good Netflix binge, and by a good Netflix binge I mean good background. Because sometimes when you have a binge, like a Stranger Things binge, oh man, those you're just like on the couch for a full day, and then you're just like, I could have gotten stuff done, but for some reason I had to pay attention. And I think this is where you're about to jump to, but speaking about Succession, MacFayden was cast in Deadpool 3. Even why you do this to me, Will? Why can't we wait to talk about the news when it's the complete news? Like, this is who was cast, and they're going to play this part.
This was honestly, I didn't have this on the rundown at first, but then I was like, well, I'll just throw it in here because I knew the Succession premiered this week and figured this would be a good tie-in, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah, have some light, really, and that plus have some light Marvel news because, good Lord, there's been a lot of shit this week.
I know we talked over the weekend about Jonathan Majors when it broke out. I think I saw some things that were updates, but I will be frankly honest, I have stopped. I'm going to do what I did with the Ezra Miller situation. God forbid it gets that far, but and just rely on you to tell me what I need to understand about the situation.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's a lot. I know originally we weren't going to, we went back and forth about whether or not to talk about it, but then some further developments happened today that I think many people may or may not have seen because it's been a lot going on in the news today. But so, of course, just to reset for folks who may not have heard all the details, over the weekend, Jonathan Majors was arrested for assault, aggravated harassment, aggravated attempted assault, and harassment. These are all charges are misdemeanors, and stemmed from a situation that he was with his female acquaintance, his girlfriend, it sounds like. And it was pretty bad situation. I mean, she did have to go to the hospital. She had visible injuries, including laceration behind her ear, and some other facial swelling, and so it was. She did have to report. She did have to go to the hospital. He was arrested and arraigned, and of course released. But there was some fallout immediately from that. The Army suspended using him in their latest recruiting campaign. I think Marvel at this point was just taking a wait and see approach. But today, his Jonathan Majors' attorney released some text messages from the alleged victim. And I'm not going to give any judgment on these first. I'm just going to read the text verbatim because I think it's important for context. And so I will start with a text that she sent him the day of the incident that occurred. She says, quote, "Please let me know you're okay when you get this. They assured me that you won't be charged. They said they had to arrest you as protocol when they saw the injuries on me, and they knew we had a fight. I'm so sorry that they did, and I'm sorry you're in this position. We'll make sure nothing happens about this. I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. I only just got out of hospital. Just call me when you're out. I love you." Then she sends a second text and just says, "They just called again to check on me, and I reiterated how this was not an attack, and they do not have my blessing on any charges being placed. I read the paper they gave me about strangulation, and I said point blank that this did not occur and should be removed immediately. The judge is definitely going to be told this. She assured me this to me. I know you have the best team, and there's nothing to worry about. I just want you to know that I'm doing all I can, my end. I also said to tell the judge to know that the origin of the call was to do with me collapsing and passing out, and your worry as my partner due to our communication prior. Out of care, she promised, all will be relayed," end quote. So those were the texts that were sent. So just to break it down, it sounds like incident occurred. They were, I guess, in a taxi on the way back from hanging out at a bar or something, and the situation happened. So honestly, I don't think this makes him look any better, quite frankly. But because I've had I've had experience, not it was with just in my career and other things about domestic cases, right. and this is the types of things that victims will sometimes do. They'll deflect and say it was my fault, you didn't do anything wrong, and there were some other things that did come out when the story first broke about Jonathan apparently having some situations in the past where he's been very belligerent and abusive to people. So, again, I'm not, everyone deserves their day in court. These are at this point all allegations, and the criminal justice process will take its place. But I don't think his attorney did him any favors by releasing these texts today.
No, because you're right. Like, let's set aside us behaving like we're the judge and jury of the situation. At the end of the day, to have this happen, publicity-wise, it's not good. Like, whether it happened, it didn't happen, there was something else at play, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like, the headline reads, Kang the Conqueror just got arrested.
Yeah.
For hitting a female, or like that's the allegation, for abusing his partner. That is not good. Like, and they say like any headline is a good headline, but it keeps you in the it keeps you relevant, but not in the way that a studio would want, especially for a studio who just named you like the crown jewel almost. Like, you're playing Kang in multiple movies, and the really bad thing, well, not the really bad thing, but the crazy situation that is at play now is Ant-Man has come out. Quantumania has come out. You can't do a recast necessarily.
Right. And he's got a small scene of Loki 2 coming up later this year. So
don't tell me that. But I would want that. We it'll be I'm gonna again try to do what I did with the whole Ezra Miller situation, where let it play out however it's going to, and try not to jump to conclusions or anything. But I just hope it doesn't get worse,
Yeah.
I don't hope, like, if it can just be this and that's it, and this gets resolved, okay, I think we can move forward from it. But man, for it just, I mean, and the thing with Ezra too, like it's very similar where people who are just getting excited about this actor, suddenly things happen,
Mm-hmm.
and that who you think this actor is, so it's tarnished automatically.
Yeah.
Like look at Chris Brown.
Yeah, exactly. Mel,
Really
I mean, Mel Gibson. I mean, is another one.
Yeah.
I mean, he managed to somehow crawl his way back, but Russell Crowe's had situations in the past. So I mean, it's this, with domestic violence, again, this is these text messages and stuff. Like I said, I've seen this type of communication before in domestic cases where the victim blames himself for, it was my fault that I grabbed the phone and that kind of things. And, so there is that, but again, like as you rightfully said, we're not the judge, we're not the jury here. We just see what happens, let the process take its place. But, if I,
I just to your point about the text messages and everything, everybody should go and check out the stuff about Melissa Benoist and what she went through with her first husband. Yeah, like exactly. There are legit interview clips where people piece together situations that happened where she did take the blame and made up excuses and justified the actions. I'm glad. Yeah. You're right. I mean, that's a very good example of where we've had a person speak about their experience, and I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, and it's crazy because it took I think a few years for that to come out after she had already divorced him and moved on with Chris Wood. Yep. But she's out of that situation. I haven't seen that actor cast in hardly anything since.
Right.
So yeah, it's not good. But all we can do is just watch how it plays out and then see what Disney moves. I mean, Disney's already making moves elsewhere where they have cut the head of Marvel Entertainment, Ike Perlmutter, and Marvel Entertainment has officially separated the division from Marvel Studios. And so Marvel Entertainment was over the TV side, right?
Yeah, so it's the TV side. So the separation happened when Perlmutter tried to force Feige out because they had a big feud a few years ago, and so as a sort of golden parachute for him, they gave him the Marvel Entertainment, which it's like it was like mainly like the licensing and comic book that was left. So bigger picture, Disney started the 7,000 layoffs, the 7th employee layoff this week. And so as part of this layoff, in addition to, unfortunately, probably a lot of rank and file folks, a lot of executives, I know I was reading earlier, some people from Hulu and other divisions, ABC News and other places, a lot of these executives are also getting laid off in this as they're cutting costs. And Perlmutter, they use this as an opportunity to get rid of him as well, because he also tried to force his way into control of the board when Bob Chapek stepped down and Bob Iger came back to take over Disney earlier late last year. And it was a lot of just sort of upper level management power grabs and machinations going on, but Perlmutter was let go. And he's also, people probably also may remember that he, in addition to his feuding with Feige, he was very down on greenlighting Black Panther and Captain Marvel some years ago as well. So he's not the most progressive person in the place, which I think also led to his demise.
And so now I'm blanking on
basically.
Totally.
I mean, at the end of the day, he was cut as a cost cutting measure, and that was just some historical context as far as who he was. Just for folks who weren't familiar with this character, they have a little bit more context about who he is.
Yeah. I've heard his name come up before.
Yeah.
And being like why Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did not become the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that everyone was promised in a way.
Yeah. That was about the time that all that stuff went down with Feige. Yeah.
So I kind of, maybe with this piece of news, I'm just like, why do I have this sense of deja vu? I feel like this has happened before. But we've talked about this on a few different shows, about how Disney Plus is not profiting the way Disney ever thought it would or could. Mm-hmm. And so, they're going to play, whether it's for actual cutting costs and mm-hmm. saving money, as they say, or for other reasons.
Yep.
Either way, they're trying to figure out how to really become functional and profitable post-COVID. So, like I said, I feel like a lot of this is deja vu, sprinkled in with some, we're not making money, guys. And we've seen some of the reviews about the shows lately and the movies. So we're trying to restructure. But they finally gave us a date for not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Secret Invasion. So we're getting that at the end of June.
Yes. Yeah, that was someone noticed that the title card on Disney Plus actually had the date. That's how it wasn't an official announcement, but I guess it was a soft announcement.
Well, then that just scares me that it's going to change. I'd be like, whoops, that was a mistake. What else? Okay. And then because we're going to talk Picard tonight, we can wrap up the news section with all of the Star Trek news, as Star Trek Strange New Worlds premieres on June 15th and has been renewed for a third season. This animated Star Trek Lower Decks and Prodigy both have been renewed for new seasons. So that's good on the Star Trek front, especially as other shows were like they're ending their seasons. And so, and then on top of that, now is this animated?
No, this new series that was announced today, Star Trek Starfleet Academy, is live action.
Okay.
And it's going to start production in 2024, and it seems that it's going to be set in the period of Star Trek Discovery, which is one of the shows that you just noted, is ending its run next year, its fifth and final season, and so this new show will be set, at least it hasn't been confirmed, but the press release that was sent out by the studio implied that it was set during that same time period. And it makes sense because one of the characters on Star Trek Discovery, Tilly, had left the ship and was working with a group of cadets that were in one of the episodes in I think season 3 or 4 of the show. So I don't know if they'll be spinning off with her character as the lead, or and some of these cadets that we met during Star Trek Discovery, or if it'll be a fresh set of cast members. But it looks like it's in the future timeline, and won't be in this period that we're in right now with Star Trek Picard, and and it looks like it's going into production in 2024. So. I think that's all the Star Trek news for the week. Because both of them, they dropped a bunch of stuff this week. I mean, and the cool thing about it, at least with Strange New Worlds and both Lower Decks and Prodigy, They both got renewed, and no, there was no renewal, but this is final season, so these shows at least will go for a little while longer, which is great back for me because I love all three of those shows.
Yeah. No, that's good. And very cool. All right, so that leads us to talk about Picard episodes 6 and 7, which I kind of just want to talk about 7 because I feel like everything that happened in 6 like either got wrapped up or untied in 7. But before we get into the discussion, I just have to razz you right now because you're already making me watch Picard. Okay, I'm watching it, Will. I'm typing my notes away. What? Why would you send me, Sarah, before we record tonight? This is Will DMing me. You need to watch this 17-minute long Easter egg of everything that happened in Picard episode 7. You need to watch it. And I'm like, okay. So I did my homework.
Okay.
But okay, Will, you're not making me a Trekkie. You get me to watch the show, but I can watch the Easter eggs. And also, before we even start, you watched this, right?
Yeah.
Why would you? They led with a reference to James Bond. You know how I feel about the James Bond.
I know, but other than the James Bond reference, the screen crush Easter eggs are like on point. I mean, if for any Star Trek fans that are listening and you're looking for a good solid it's you don't have either memoryalpha.com at your fingertips or your hard copy Star Trek encyclopedia. I'm telling them myself. Then this is a good resource for you because they really do know their stuff. That and also Trek culture.
Yeah, that's all. Like, and listeners, he sent me a link to this.
Well, I'll just figure it out. Well, I just know in the past there have been situations where some of the little in-universe things just didn't land for you certain ways, especially whenever you're trying to put together your notes. So I figured this one was a very good one because there was a lot of shit like tie-ins and references to the whole universe, quite frankly. And so I thought it was a good video for you to watch.
It was fine.
Okay.
I still don't really understand about 16 minutes of it.
Okay.
Because and it's not that I don't understand, okay? I'm not stupid. I've watched plenty of TV. I know how TV works. It's just that it was just a reminder of when we're talking Star Trek, it's not that I haven't watched like Discovery or like a show that aired 5 years ago. No, we're talking about movies that came out before I was born. We're talking about shows that have multiple seasons, and now I'm coming to realize how many times John Luke has died, how many times Data has freaking died, and I'm just like, Will, we have to have a discussion about stakes because I'm very confused. And it's actually kind of crazy how fans it's fascinating from the perspective of how you're able to have this expansive story with and then this character, two characters, Data and John Luke, who, from what I understand, they're on their third life, their second life. Data's on his third life, right?
Data's definitely on his third life.
Okay, and John Luke is on his second life.
Second life,
Third?
but also, well, so
2.5.
2.5, because his original body did have an artificial heart. So yes, 2.5.
2.5. And so while I'm watching these two episodes, all I can think about is like, oh my God, they're never going to kill him. They're never going to kill any of these people.
Well, that's a long-standing Star Trek trope because Leonard Nimoy wanted Spock to die in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. But of course, when whenever fandom had learned about that, and they saw the reception of the film, they reshot the ending so that they could, Spock could have the possibility of coming back, which he did. So this is nothing new in Star Trek.
Oh yeah, but it's just funny how we talk about stakes in the superhero realm all the time. And if Barry Allen was on his 7th life, I would not be surprised. But I can tell you that, yeah, I don't like. I would have checked out of that show on its 2nd life. But then again, that maybe it has to do with like Star Trek. It's more science fiction, and comic books are more fiction than anything, even though sometimes some of the best episodes that come out of those shows or that genre tend to lean heavily more into that science fiction realm, because you can then ground your narrative and bring back apparently a character 2.5 times. Yeah. But so I had some revelations. I did, because I had no idea. I had no idea. And it kind of like is like, yeah, this is why I'm not in, but yeah, so I'm trying to figure out where I want to go from here. But I just had to razz you about it's making me, on top of the 2 hours I already spent in Star Trek world, I had to tack on another 17 minutes. Oh man, I'm Star Trek'd out.
Well, I'm not. So let's.
Well, go ahead. You can geek out. You can probably explain the 6 and 7 all on your own. You don't need my help at all.
No, I want to hear. I like hearing your perspective, because, again, you're right. I mean, the thing about show, and Star Wars is like this too. Any kind of genre show that has multiple iterations and legacies and whatnot, it does sort of become like its own little club. I mean, it's like the MCU. I mean, it's people, it's at that place where sometimes it can be a little difficult to own ramp if you haven't been there from the beginning. So
yeah.
So I get where you're coming from.
Right. Okay. So, how do you want to do this?
Yeah. So, overall thoughts about the episode. I mean, why don't you just give that, and then we can really get into some of the beats that really, using your notes from some episode 6, we can, because some of those things did get answered very in episode 7, but also we did get more questions from getting some answers with how things transpired this week.
Yeah. It was fine. These 2 episodes felt like part 1 and part 2 for exactly what you just said. They're fine episodes. I guess I'm not really like, okay, I'm not going to share my overall thoughts, because like that's not who I am. I'm just going to say, who the heck is controlling the changelings? That's all I want to know right now. I need to understand that. Yeah. And then of course, I like how we started the show with, who is Jack Crusher? Okay, he's Picard's son. Okay, why do the changelings want him? Oh wait, the changelings, he's a means to their end, in the sense that he's not needed by Vadic. He's needed by whoever Vadic is working for, which is a bigger mystery. Mm-hmm. So now we're back to where we started with, okay, who or what is Jack Crusher? Because is he related to Picard? Yes.
Yes.
Is he related to his mama? No.
He's definitely he's related to both.
I know. It was funny when Vatic kind of like, he's not yours, or and I'm like, was the Crusher changeling and pregnant?
Yeah, well, that line did. I will say that was one that did, like, I was wondering about that too, because it's like, on the one, it's like, okay, given all, especially when we get Vadic's backstory as far as how she was created, and in the Daystrom station, and when she says that, whenever Beverly and John Luke are, confronting her there, and she's like, I was like, that was like, so.
Yeah, it was a very good line and a place. Yeah. And that entire scene, like, I saw your tweet about the actor who plays Geordi deserving to be Performer of the Week. I think the actress who played Vatic deserves to be Performer of the Week, because I liked her monologue. My one critique is not because of her performance. No, it's because of the writing. It's just that I found it very humorous how within the span of 1 minute, she's criticizing them for how they're starting this interrogation, and then she shares her entire story. Yeah. I'm like, why?
Well, I mean, yeah, it was like, I guess she was like, she thought it was gonna be good cop, bad cop, and then she was like, they're not doing that. I'm bored. So, I'll just. They didn't mind fucked her, and they got her to tell her her whole story and plan.
They just brought up the war, and then that sent her on an entire rant, and then the next thing you know, she's staring off in the distance, about to cry, because she's now talking about her family and how this is a revenge mission, and how ironically the Federation created her, the spy stuff, which bleeds into James Bond, further proof that I watched the 17-minute long video. Yeah. It's just it was so short. It was so short, where I felt like that character could have been a little bit smarter. But I also think that they did it because they couldn't really allow this interrogation to bleed all the way over into another episode.
Well, I think that, and also she got what she wanted at the end, which is, she doesn't care. I mean, her end game was to get the captaincy of the Titan, which and just basically deliver Jack to whoever the fuzzy headed funky guy in her hand is, which I'm still trying to. I'm racking my brain as far as okay, now we as far as evil people in Star Trek that still would have a big enough grudge against the Federation that they want to get them all assembled on Frontier Day and destroy them all.
Well, that's their plan.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing that I kept thinking about in this episode, how much John Luke immediately cut straight to the plan. She never confirmed that that's what they were doing.
Right.
She never confirmed it. She, in my opinion, and I could have blacked out or just completely looked over or something, but from what I heard and saw, she never confirmed it, and it's never from. We just know that they took his body.
Right.
They're making an assumption about what they need from it, especially because they also need Jack, and so his DNA and whatever is inside of John Luke's remains connected can create, I don't know. I will tell you this, Will. It is very good mystery that has taken us 7 episodes to get there.
Yeah. Well, I had a theory, and that when I did my review last week with about why they wanted John Luke's remains, and also with Jack, and part of it, this episode confirmed. Well, I won't say confirmed because they've been doing a lot of head fakes this season. But the theory that in supposition that the crew came up with, which is they needed John the doppelganger, and the reason why I thought they needed to make the doppelganger is that John Luke's original remains has Borg components,
right,
from when he was abducted and became Locutus, and we've seen that used over and over again.
right.
And then of course this week we had the extra piece now of Jack having some telepathic abilities, and what I theorized last week was maybe that this new bunch of changelings was going to create some kind of hive mind, using the two of them to using the remains of Locutus and the DNA from John Luke and Jack to create this this big basically the doppelganger, and somehow get the fake John Luke to Federation Day and use that doppelganger to destroy the fleet. So some of the pieces for my fan theories had some additional elements added to it this week. But it's still but the way they have I think I'm pretty sure at this point Jack being a sleeper agent is probably not the case. I think there's something else going on. But and given that we saw all this genetic engineering and all this, the changelings get more monkeyed around with the Daystrom Station by Section 31. Maybe they did, and maybe they did do something when Jack was a baby. But there's like I said, they definitely answered a lot of things. The Aromatic syndrome, Data basically was like, no, it might not be that, which that was whenever Picard had his initial diagnosis years ago on Next Generation. Beverly didn't notice it before. And then when they did notice it, they did have a little throwaway line that it could be any number of neurological disorders. So maybe this time it was the Borg, Data's saying that maybe it was something from the Borg implants that he had, that maybe that's why they misdiagnosed it way back in season 1 of Picard. But or just could be that they're trying to retcon just to make things work for their story this year.
And it wouldn't surprise me if the person or the being who is controlling Vadic is a Borg.
Yeah, it wouldn't. It would make sense that it would be some Borg.
Just because I've heard, I heard Roka talk about the similarities that there are between the changelings and the Borg.
Yeah. There is. Yeah, there is that's why I thought about the hive mind thing too, because
right.
My theory last week was that these new changelings were missing out on the Great Link, and especially even given that they were prisoners of the Dominion War and cut off from the rest of the Great Link, maybe that's something that they weren't. In all the morphogenic experiments and torture they were going through, maybe, and even though they evolved in one sense, by being able to more fully mimic person down to their blood and stuff, maybe they lost some elements, and that's part of their plan. I
was thinking that for the changelings, it would make sense that they needed something from John Luke's remains, because maybe there is something unique about his DNA that, or back when we just knew about Crusher, there's something unique about John Luke's DNA that allows his synthetic body to
Mm.
work,
Mm.
and even confuse brand new viewers. So maybe they needed something like that so that they could become as solid as they wanted. And also shout out to them for just being like, you solids. That is so, man. Yeah, I would, if I could be called a changeling versus a solid for an hour, I would want to definitely be a changeling. I could just call people stupid solids.
Stupid solids.
That's a solid privilege. Oh my God.
Yeah. But yeah, this, like I said, we're finishing the second act of the season, and I think it, definitely was a bottle show for, because with the Worf and Rafi, we're all looking for Will and Deanna, which I will say I wish they had picked up a little bit of that, but I guess this episode was pretty packed, so I don't know if they could have like had a satisfying beat extraction story in
Not
this
with
episode.
the amount of exposition they needed to deliver between. I mean, they had a pretty decent A and B storylines that were self-contained, and then even kind of see like Jack is kind of like floating in between, like, yeah. So no, I agree. I don't think they should have crammed it. I almost wish that these episodes would have just aired back to back, because they like they bleed into one another so well.
Yeah.
And it's a really good cliffhanger as to just be like, okay, well now we're just starting all over again. We have traveled 7 episodes.
It reminds me a lot of the way Andor was set up. You had these like 3-episode arcs, and that's how this season of Picard has been so far. He's had these little arcs.
Yeah, to your point. Andor did it better, but yeah, you're right. Like, there are definite like segments of this season where like, okay, now we've wrapped up that, so we're moving here for a few episodes. But it's funny because I watched Superman and Lois last night.
Yeah.
And I forget. Was it Mandalorian and Picard where we were noticing the overlapping themes, or was it The Last of Us?
It was the final episode of The Last of Us and Picard. Right.
Because it happened again.
Yeah.
It happened. And I was thinking that, and then as soon as they turned around and saw the blood, I'm like, that is so Superman's blood.
Yep.
That's so Superman. Because they're going to cure. Mannheim is curing cancer. Okay. That is my theory.
That's a good theory. They're going to be forced to work with Mannheim to save Lois. That's a great theory.
That is totally my theory. And that it just, I can't, because, and I put this in my notes, I can't get the line stuck out of my head about how Superman, he says to Superman, you don't make change. And he says it in a way which means what he's doing, right or wrong, will make a change. And what's a better change than curing cancer?
Yeah.
I don't know how to work, but yeah, I just talk about this week's episode of Superman and Lois. It wasn't a bottle episode the same way Dominion was,
right?
But it very much felt like it was, in the sense that it felt very contained in like, we need to move them. We need to, now that we have Lois diagnosed, we need the grappling of that. And people like her family banding together, along with moving along this Mannheim mystery in a very self-contained way. And I think they did a good job overall with it. Except and just like what we were talking about before in terms of having a solid A and B storyline, I really, I can the kids just go to summer camp? Like, can they just? I mean, and especially this whole Lang storyline. I liked Sarah for like a good amount of the 2 seasons. I really don't like her this season.
Yeah.
She's steering like she's swerving. Like, I don't know what happened with her personality, but I could have sworn when it came out that her dad cheated on her mom, she took her mom's side. But now it's like and I think what they're doing, Will, is they're gonna have a heart to heart, and it's gonna come out, well, yeah, he cheated, but you broke up the family because you are the one who wanted a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's that resentment.
Yeah. That's a very good thought there. Because I'm with you that this season her character has been very off-putting, and in this week when Sarah and Lana had the blow up there at the end of the episode, I didn't feel like it was earned at all.
Right, it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was felt so forced, and like, because one of this episode, when it was straddling the line of melodrama and CW melodrama, and not, and when it, like you said, when the A story with some of the things that were going on with Lois and her diagnosis and how she reacted to it worked. I mean, I completely bought it. Especially whenever when Mannheim was doing things and she would just like run off from her treatment twice. And so and whenever she did talk about why she was afraid and how everybody's treating her differently now, I mean, that felt real and organic. This stuff with Sarah and her mother and Lana, just like, what the fuck? I was like, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, even with Jonathan in the car, and I have to apologize because I'm pretty sure last week I thought that the girl he dated in the previous season was the same girl from last week. No, that was pre-Smallville move. I forgot, honestly, too, that was the Metropolis girlfriend. It was very weird. And now I'm just thinking to myself, I know they did a recast of Jonathan. Did they recast the girl who played his girlfriend?
I was thinking that same thing. I was like, when I was watching it today, I was like, I think that's a different actress.
Yeah, maybe that's why we're all confused. But yeah. I mean, that wasn't. It was weird because it's boring. It's just it's, to your point, it's very melodramatic. We've seen that play out time and time again. And it's not that the Lois stuff didn't hit. And to your point, like, her reaction and response felt very organic. However, I knew what she was doing the entire time, so I was kind of bored. I was like, okay, I know where this is going. Yeah. I wanted a good twist. I wanted a good thing, and maybe that's why it was nice to have the Mannheim stuff and the revelation. Yeah. That they're stockpiling Superman's blood. For these experiments, for these chemo trials. So it's just, I like this week's episode. I don't love it. I think that they fell very much into a lot of melodramatic beats and a lot of beats where we're trying to get past this. We definitely, though, need this step because it's a big it's a big revelation that happens, and there are a lot of characters affected. The most interesting thing they did was with John Henry Irons. Mm-hmm. And I say this all the time. Arguably one of the best characters on the show. Like, because at first I thought they were doing it, I fell for what they were doing with him in the sense, like, getting mad about Nat wanting to give away the watch. Mm-hmm. And it didn't click, like, oh, that was his defense mechanism because he doesn't want to take on that hopelessness as if that was his wife. But as much as he tries, he can't. She's still his friend at the end of the day. She's still someone he deeply cares about at the end of the day. And my fan fiction loves. Yep. So yeah, I thought that was the most interesting because I never really know what they're going to do with Nat and John Henry, you know? I just wish Nat wasn't becoming BFFs with Sarah at the moment. Okay. I wish that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
But I get it. And in a weird way, at one point, I don't know if I've said this on air before. I thought that eventually Jonathan and Nat would get together.
Yeah, you mentioned that before.
Okay.
Yeah. You have
I know it's weird. But there was some chemistry. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, there was, but I know, and I think in the second season there were definite moments where it looked like that was the path that they thought about going, but then he got addicted to the X kryptonite and went up with that girl, which is, like you said, I mean, she may be the same person with different hairstyle or something, but I was wondering this evening. When I was watching the episode, I was like, did she get recast? Because it seems like it's a different person.
And it seems like as traumatic and as big as a story beat that was, they've moved on real fast from that. And he got kicked out of school and everything. They just breezed right by it. Here's a brand new car.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nice 16th birthday present there for you. But and in this week, Jordan was, at least they didn't like have Jordan and Sarah again as far as his like moping over her. So at least we're getting progress, y'all. Jordan's not moping over Sarah anymore. At least this week.
Yeah, he's still a mope. He was not moping front and center, but he was moping in the background an awful lot.
That's his resting. Yeah, that's his resting moping face. I mean, that's definitely his case.
It's called resting moping face. Jordan, thank you very much. All right. Anything else from because this, like I said, this episode, it's not a bad episode, but I think it's so condensed that we don't need to like spend 20 minutes because there wasn't that much that happened
right
at the end of the day.
No. I mean, basically, we know that Lois got had fear over the treatment, and but she got over it, and I mean, you're right. I mean, I think it was a transition episode to like, and it really got to what the bigger issue is, which is what's going on with them harvesting Superman's blood.
Right. So in Smallville, we have what's going on with Soup's blood, and in space, we have who is Jack Crusher. Also, what's going on with John Luke's blood.
Yeah.
You know,
a lot of DNA going around here this episode.
It's all related. It's all. Yeah. I just feel as though we missed. There. Yeah, thank you very much. Pun very much intended. I just feel like we missed when all genre TV writers went up into Canada and to this big writing convention and shared their ideas for what they were doing for these seasons. And then we just we're getting a lot of overlap, and it's not bad. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
In a way, because it helps us like stay on track for important themes. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Connections. I don't know. It's kind of crazy how you can have shows like we were saying before, one very much science fiction and then more fantasy, not even fantasy, but just comic books lore, that can have these parallel plot points. Plot points and themes. And I still miss Last of Us.
Yeah, I miss The Last of Us as well. But you're right. I mean, it is. I like how you how they all went to one big writers' room in Canada, and then they all put their own spin on the theme of the year, which is it's all related.
It is. It is all related. I can't wait for the overlap of or whoever will overlap with the boys.
Well, this Starfleet, I have to say, whenever I meant to say it earlier in an episode with this Starfleet Academy, I was like, oh, whatever it's going to be like the boys spinoff, because they're also, they're at Vault University.
When is that coming out?
Oh gosh,
I forgot about that.
I know they were filming. I don't know if they wrapped or not. I mean, I think season 3 of The Boys is still in the process of being filmed.
Oh yeah. They're shooting right now.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna get that in the fall.
I guess season 4. Yeah.
Homelander.
Yeah.
Homelander, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we got our time. So how many more episodes of Picard?
Oh, we got 3 left.
3 left.
Yep.
We still don't know who the fuck Jack Crusher. No.
We don't.
We got three more weeks of that. Oh, is that ending at the same time Mandalorian is?
Just about. Yeah, they end around the same time. Yeah.
So are we covering the finales the same week?
I have to look at the calendar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. We can definitely do this when we're not recording, but listeners just love to listen to where my mind wanders.
Yeah.
And on that note,
producing it as we go, y'all.
Producing it as we go. Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Will M. Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at CNN Nerd, friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and visit our website, www.cnnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.